In a world where it's tough to find real, authentic stories, we're here to share the true heart of the trucking industry and the soul of country music. We're going to dive into the life on the road and capture the essence of small town America, from behind the scenes of NASCAR to the brotherhood of truckers.
We're the last of the cowboys, giddy up gone boys.
We mix storytelling, industry insights, and musical highlights. So come on, y'all, and let's hit the road. We have got a special guest. I've been excited about this one all day and getting to record, spend some time and hang out and talk with none other than Lisa Kelly, Ice Road Trucker star. Man, how are you? Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. I was really excited when you asked, so I'm good. I'm just healing from a broken ankle, but that's about it. So my truck was it's in the shop, but it got done. So I'm walking and the truck's done. So I'm about ready to get back on the road.
Well, when you can't beat got done. I mean, I don't give a darn where you're from. If it got done, it's done. So, yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Excited to, hear some of the stories that you had to tell, about your life. It's been a pretty wild and crazy life. You've been blessed to get to do a lot of things. And I wanted to start off, just out of my own curiosity of getting to know the Lisa Kelly before she was a household name, before Ice Road Truckers come along, before so many people got to know who you are and your personality and your tenacity and I love that. I love what you're about. I love your character. So what was it like growing up? What attracted you to trucking? Can you just give us a little backstory of, the 7-year-old Lisa Kelly leading up to Ice Road Truckers?
I pretty much grew up on a little farm in Alaska. So I was a farm girl and played with horses and goats and chickens and all that stuff. And I got into riding dirt bikes so I could get to work. And then I just fell in love with them. So I was kind of that biker chick. Are you that dirt biker chick? So that's who I was before the show came around. So it was kind of interesting.
That's cool. What is it called, a biker chick or like a snow biker? Because do you ever get to ride on any dirt up there? I mean, what's it like the weather? I mean, a year round, do you get a lot of snow? Do you see much grass and dirt?
So apparently it snowed this morning. I didn't
really,
but my little barn girl Trinity was like, "It snowed." I was like, "No, it's too early."
So what was like your first job? You got this dirt bike. You're all bundled up, and
we have a summer. I didn't ride in the winter for a while, and then
I was gonna say you had to be bundled up in your frostbite suit, protected. You spray on your frostbite like we do sunscreen down here. You got frostbite screen.
Pretty much, yeah. I think everybody in Alaska's got some part of their body that was halfway frostbitten, so now it gets colder faster than other parts. Those are my fingers.
Absolutely. So, what was your first? You're riding that bike to some of your jobs. What was your first job? What'd you do?
I was working at a gas station in town. I lived down in Sterling in Alaska here, and it was about, I don't know, 10, 15 miles away. So I just ride and throw a padlock on it and do my work and ride home. And then I think I ended up riding my bike too on one of my first trucking jobs when I was at Carlisle and Kenai, because I lived like less than a mile away. So I just drove my bike back and forth to work. So, yeah.
Nice. So when did you decide? You're young. I imagine you being 16, 15. How old was you? Your first job? 17.
I don't remember because we lived out in the middle of nowhere. So like my first official job was for the Forestry Service, and we called it Taking the Weather. So they set up this little weather station, and you take like the precipitation and the wind speed, and it's like so they can put the fire hazard out. So it took like 15 minutes, and it was like $12 a day to do it. So that was like my first job.
That's cool. You go from riding this little motorcycle to the gas station job after the forestry job. So at what point did you take interest in becoming a truck driver? What part of the trucking industry, became attractive to you and sent you in that direction?
I think mostly I was just a tomboy growing up on the farm and stuff and shooting guns and all that stuff. So it's like, I don't know, both I have a bunch of different stories that way. So I call it process of elimination. But both of my parents are in the medical field, and I hated the medical field. So that was out. It's like, what else to do? And just, getting odd jobs here and there. And I started working for a pizza company. And that's where I found out I like not being in the building all day long. I like going out and driving around town. So that was like, I like trucks, I guess. I'll try it out. And if I didn't like it, I didn't do it. And if I liked it, I did it. So I just started like, oh, I'll try trucks. That sounds fun. And just got into it. I'm like, yeah, I like this. I like it. I think I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, there's nothing like having an office with a view that's always changing, and the
Hmm.
curiosity, of what's beyond that next horizon. That's something that
Yeah.
always got me. I write about horizons a lot in my songs, and what may lay, beyond that last horizon that you see, or around that next curve that you take, and it's just some of the things that attract you to trucking. And I'm the same way. I couldn't work. I don't know how people work in a plant all day, or
Yeah. Yeah.
flipping burgers. I mean, I respect everybody that does the job no
Hmm.
matter what it is, but that wasn't me.
Yeah.
Trucking was really the first job that I ever got that I kept.
Yeah.
I'd get a job for 6, 7 months. I'd quit.
Yep.
I'd get
Yep. Me
tired of
too.
it. I'd find something else to do. And I'd do that till I was tired of it. I quit. Then when I was like 21, I started playing music. I did that till I was 30, and I kept doing that. But then we went through a divorce, got custody of my 2 daughters, and I'm like, well, that was fun. Time to grow up, not do that anymore, And that's when I got my CDL when I was 30 in 2000. But I never looked back. I loved every minute of it. So yeah, but anyway, so you decide you want to go drive trucks. What was your first trucking job?
At Carlisle well, I kind of take that back. Actually, I drove like a little bread truck, but it wasn't like a CDL. It was a little box truck, and I
Mm-hmm.
delivered bread to the grocery stores. So that was kind of my first trucking job. And then after that, like it was Carlisle. And I also worked in like a little non-CDL vehicle, and everything runs around, the pipeline up here. So I would go take, I was a courier truck that would take like the packages to like the helipads that flew the stuff out to the oil rigs in the middle of the ocean. So that was kind of like my first little job. And then I graduated up as gonna do a box truck, but I wanted to go straight for the CDL. My boss was like, "You should get your B before you get your A," and I'm like, "Uh, okay, no, I'm
No,
just gonna
Henry.
do it all." And then it was just a lot around
Yeah.
town, picking up stuff, tying it down, delivering it just in town.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking back, and my dad had some construction equipment growing up before I got my CDL and all that, and he had a single axle dump truck with I think a 6 speed is GMC red, and he had it looking good, but it has a gas burner. It wasn't a diesel, and well, we hauled some weight on that thing. Good God, I don't know how they lasted, but anyway, so that's what I started out in, and even as small as that is, you really looking back. I'm glad I had those days and that time in that truck, and the weight we would have on there sometimes, and learning how you had to really adjust, be way ahead of your stops in your mind. And so
Yeah.
those trucks, the bread truck, you start you're learning things you don't even realize
Yeah.
because we're like bored with it, but we
Hmm.
were learning a lot, and you don't
Oh
realize
yeah.
it till you get where we are now and you look back at that.
I'm really glad that I had to start out kind of in the yard because I got, back in trailers a lot and a lot of
Yeah.
time stuff down and just stuff like that. And then if I went straight to line driving or something, I'd be like, oh, I don't know how to tie anything down, but I was getting good at it. And, so I'm glad I
Yeah.
had that time in the yard.
Yeah, there's a lot of learning that goes on there. I had a good friend of mine wanted to get into it. He said, "What do you suggest I do?" I said, "Go down here to Walmart, see if you can get hired on as one of the yard dogs."
Yeah. Yep. And
I
just
said,
move
"Spend
around
about
town.
6, 8 months backing them trailers in and out." I said, "And then when you do get your truck and you go out here, you're not going to have an issue. You're going to have to adjust to a little bit longer tractor and not cutting it short, but you're going to have the fundamentals, all kind of
Yeah,
figured out
that's
in
good
the
to
angles."
start out that way. Because I remember taking out a guardrail because I'm trying to drive it like a car. I'm like pulling out. I'm like, oh, I got to turn wide, but there's a car coming. I didn't think of looking the direction that you're not going to be in that lane. And it's
Well,
like,
I think we all have those moments. I
yeah.
remember I was down in where was I? I was in Louisiana or Mississippi. It's several years ago. I've been driving about probably 5 years, long enough to know better. And, and I pulled in, I back into a spot and took a nap, and it rained like crazy. When I woke up, all my mirrors were wet, and had to wipe the fog out of the windows. They're fogged up. Well, instead of getting out and wiping all that down, well, I had to go. And I sitting there with the trailer on, trucks on both sides of me, and I pulled out of there like I was in my pickup truck.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even try to swing out. Luckily I wasn't flying, but And all of a sudden I felt that little bit. So I was like, oh no. Hit my brakes, got out and looked. I was like, son of a B word. I caught the guy's bumper. I just pulled it, straight out there.
Oh, no.
So I can ease back without turning nothing. So I eased back and spot, and I went inside. I was like, who drives that black Peter? And it wasn't, it wasn't just, it was a nice ass Peterbilt, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just, yeah, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. But the guy was really cool about it. He said, man, I just appreciate you not driving off and not telling me you did it,
Yeah.
But you have them days. It's all part of learning, learning our craft and what we do. So
You got to make mistakes to get any better. If you're not making mistakes and you aren't failing, you didn't even try.
Absolutely. If you're not failing every now and then, you're not trying.
Yep.
So, well, listen, we're going to take a short break. We're going to give our sponsors and advertisers a chance to talk about their product and services. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Y'all stick around, hit the like button, make a comment, share with your friends. See you in a little bit.
There are folks out here who still take pride in their everyday ride. Low profilers, million milers, chicken lights, and chrome stylers. The ones who do whatever it takes to keep America rolling. Those who know if a job's worth doing, well, it's worth doing right. Full stop. Great products for real people.
Based on family and faith, the book, Into the Long White Line, is a must-read journey of a retiring truck driver and cattle hauler reflecting on his life dating back to 1966. Experience the love, the pain, and the untold stories of life on the road. Make sure to add Into the White Line to your reading list today.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Road Show with Tony Justice and friends. We're excited to be talking with one of my friends and the star of Ice Road Truckers, Miss Lisa Kelly. She's coming to us from Alaska. What part of Alaska again do you live in?
I'm in Wasilla right now, and I work out of Fairbanks.
So is that the west side? Is that
Toward the bottom.
toward the
So, here's the
southwest?
left, and I'm right here.
Okay. All right. That's far enough. That's close enough to the North Pole for me. Either way, you really live at the bottom or the top. So
Well, yeah. We still get that art stuff.
So you're talking about driving out to these helicopter pads that I guess delivers. You'd go there and they'd get stuff off the truck and they'd fly out to the oil wells out in the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So did any of that entail you driving across frozen waters?
It did not.
Did not?
The ocean right there, it's salty enough. The ocean doesn't always freeze. Like,
Yeah.
it was, I think, way up north, like the Arctic Ocean. But
Mhm.
like where I was at, the ocean doesn't really freeze. So, no,
Okay.
just helicopters. No.
All right. Well, so how do we go from Lisa, the little delivery truck driver, to Lisa Kelly driving across frozen damn oceans?
The way I say is I drive in Alaska, so everything's an ice road at one point. So it kind of just comes with the territory.
So who contacted you? I mean, how did the opportunity present itself for you to have just even the opportunity to be considered to be one of the drivers on Ice Road Truckers?
Well, I worked at Carlisle, but I had kind of went to part-time at Carlisle, and I started driving the mail truck for a different company. And I was so part-time, I barely ever showed up to work at Carlisle anymore, because I just did it on the days that I felt like working or they needed somebody extra. But I don't think the owner of the company realized I didn't really work there anymore.
Mhm.
And so I was actually driving the mail truck when I got the call, if you want to be on TV and all this. And it's like working with Carlisle. I'm like, oh, I might have to go back to full-time status then. So I was like, I loved my mail job. It was a routine. I only worked 2 or 3 days a week. I loved it. And I was home every night. And so I had to call, I told them, I'm like, I love my mail job, guys, but there's an opportunity. I might get to be on TV and I might go back to Carlisle full time. And they're like, go for it. That's such a cool opportunity. So went back to full time at Carlisle. I'm like, yeah, I work here at Carlisle, because I think the company then production company was just working with one particular trucking company, not collecting drivers from everywhere. Just working within the company. And I think my boss at that point was like, oh, we got a girl driver. And they were like, oh, that's interesting. But it was interesting because the production company, Original Productions, had to pitch the show to History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did, and they had me, History Channel was pretty much like dead set against not having a woman on the show.
Well, them chauvinist pigs.
Well, I don't know what I think, I mean, History Channel is great, but I don't think they take big chances on things, big risks.
Yeah.
Because even when we were shooting the show in South America, there's something that pretty happened exciting in South America that did not make TV.
Yeah.
It would have been so awesome if it made TV, but it didn't because it's low risk. And literally in the show, it looks like we go down, we pick up the load, and we left, and that's not what happened.
Oh, boys. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I got to hear more. I got to hear more later on.
Want to hear that story? Well, I just went back for Carlisle and tried out and did the on-screen test, and then they convinced them to let a girl be on the show. So I thought that was kind of cool that I was able to kind of break through that barrier.
So was you actually getting your experience of driving across frozen oceans in all kinds of crazy weather conditions while that was being filmed pretty much?
I mean, yes and no. I had already been going up the Haul Road for 5 years before the show, because I had been going up the Haul Road and doing that, and that's when I switched over to the mail, and then I came back. So I had already been up there and doing stuff for a while before the show came. But of course, I'm always getting experience. Like, I'll go up there and get experience the next time I head up there. It's never ending.
Yeah.
And I'd only driven in Alaska, and we've been doing the shows in other countries and in Canada, and I've never driven the Canadian roads, because our road's a road. Gravel road year round, I mean, ice on it, of course, in the winter, but in Canada, there's no roads in the summer. It's tundra. And in the winter, they just make the road. So they're never the same, because they just go wherever they can get the road to go. So that was definitely different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I had crossed a frozen lake before Canada. I've driven across frozen river and an ocean pad, but not a lake.
well, so what's the number one do not do rule when driving across the ocean and it's froze? Is it the speed factor?
Ocean is a little bit hard to say, only because the one time I went onto the ocean, it was just an ocean pad. So to store the pipe on it. So pretty much what they did is they took the water underneath and pumped it up on top and kept doing that till it was frozen all the way to the ground. So and it was just pull down onto the pad, offload the pipe, pull back up. So it wasn't no big deal. But the lakes for sure is speed. Don't stop, but don't go too fast.
Yeah, it's all about just, I guess, treating your fuel pedal and your brake pedal like you got eggs underneath both of them and you don't want to break them.
Pretty much.
Getting on the lake, getting up the lake.
Because there's a lot of shores. You don't think about it, but you've got to go up the shore, and some shores are really steep, and it makes you want to kind of run at it, but you can't, because you can't go fast, and the ice is weaker at the edges because the sun, and the ground. Yeah. So you're like, I want to run for this, and if I don't and I get stuck, then what? Because you can't really wear chains on the ice either, because you wear through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, what a great teacher to teach you that fine line between too much fuel in those conditions versus not enough, because it's a momentum game. You don't want to lose your momentum, but you don't want to go too fast, but you got to know just how much momentum to keep in order to pull that heel. And that's to me, it'd be like tractor pulling. Those guys that, those big tractors that do the pulls and stuff. It's cool. It's how they take off. It's a throttle game.
Yeah, well, I raced trucks a little bit in Canada. I did the drag racing, and then one of my friends that I met there, he does the sled pulls too. Yeah, that's
pretty fun. Fun stuff.
Yeah,
well, that's cool. That's cool. Well, we're already at our second 10-minute mark, if you can believe that. I don't know if we even hit all the things I wanted to, but we're going to take another break. Let our sponsors and advertisers talk about their products and their services. We appreciate all of our advertisers and all of our sponsors for helping make this possible. We definitely appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Make sure to smash that share button. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'll see you back in a few minutes.
If you're running ultra-low diesel in your vehicle, make sure you are prepared and protected all winter long with Hal's Diesel Treatment, the #1 anti-gel product in North America from the trusted brand that's been around for over 100 years. Check out their full line at houseproducts.com.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Road Show with Tony Justice and my special guest, Lisa Kelly. Lisa, I made a post. These, since we're not live, these are recorded, but I made a post before I started recording this asking folks if letting them know that I was going to be recording your episode, and if people had questions that they'd like to ask you, to leave it in the comment. And we got quite a few people. There's no way we'll be able to get all the questions in here, but we're going to get a couple of what we thought are better ones. And Drew Wilkie, or Wilk, Wilke, I don't know. Have any idea how you pronounce that? I'm going to say Wilk.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He wanted to know if you took the puppy home that you found in India.
So the puppy didn't come home with me, but he came home with my producer because he's always in the truck with us. And I'd have to go do an interview. I'm like, can you take the puppy up and this and that? And he got attached to the puppy. And I'm like, well, I can't technically have a puppy where I was living at the time because I was only renting, and that no dogs allowed. And he's like, I can have a puppy. And so I'm like, please take him home. And so the puppy lived in Hollywood, California there, with my producer for many, many years. And I got to go to his house. At one point I was down there for, I don't know, a premiere or something, and got to go visit. Well, his name was Jackson. I named him Rampur because that's the town I found him in India. So it was Jackson Rampur.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
Yeah, and I think he just passed away in the last year or two. So he's had a nice long life with a little girl that he got to grow up with. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus he's like the Jeffersons, man. He moved on up, went out to Hollywood, L.A., you know.
He was a furry mountain dog.
Yeah, compared to where he come from and where he went, probably living in a house, being spoiled, you know, waited on hand and foot. I bet he thought he'd hit the lottery. So that's pretty awesome.
Imagine. He's, that made me happy. You know, you can't say
I guarantee it.
One.
Makes you feel good. Craig Fanning wanted to see if you would be willing to open up a little on how scripted the show is or was.
Yeah, so our show is actually notorious for being one of the least scripted shows. And I know a lot of like Housewives and all that kind of stuff are pretty darn scripted. But I mean, this is what we live and we work and we do. And there is at no point somebody told me to say something. But I mean, but you still have to tell a story. And I try to explain that to people because some things you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end for a story to make sense. And watch that on the show. You have like a pre-trip, the load, and then, you get it there end of the episode, you know. But in reality, it's a little bit harder because you don't know in the beginning how your story is going to start, because if you film all of it, but which thing happened that's going to develop on the road, like what's going to be the story. So you usually by the middle and the end, you've got that. And sometimes you have to kind of go fill in the beginning. So it's not like it didn't happen. Sometimes we have to redo it, like reenact it. So it's not scripted. It's just we have to fill in the blanks to make it make sense. Like you can't have doing an episode and one character's in the daylight and the other character's in the dark and just cut back and forth. Like it's got to flow in a storyline. So sometimes we have to say things to fill in the blanks. But it's not like say something that isn't happening or anything like that. And a lot of the questions that I think obviously they build up is they say, okay, what's your worst case scenario? So yeah, those things could happen, but I'd like to think I'm not that dumb to allow it to happen. But there is a worst case scenario. I'm like, a meteorite could fall out of the sky and land right on my truck and kill us all in a burning fireball. You know, it's like worst case scenario. And they're like, yeah, haha, funny. And they cut that out.
That's great. Well, you just got to telling me a story on the commercial break there, a little bit of something that happened and it didn't make it on air. And you wish looking back now that it would have made it on air. You said it would be completely awesome, but it sounds like a little sketchy moment.
It was a sketchy moment. So there was a moment on the show.
Which show was this? Ice Road Truckers or?
Well, IRT, Deadliest Roads in South America.
Okay.
So South America is like really known for like their coca leaves, and that's I mean, literally, you have to have, they said, a carload to make a thing of cocaine out of it. But they chew it with like a rock, and it either like numbs toothaches, and it's kind of like caffeine, I guess, because it's the, I don't even know how to describe it, but coca leaves is like their thing, their commodity.
Well, yeah.
But we're going to have a bunch of Americans and Canadians roll in there and load our truck full of coca leaves. And it's weird because I feel like it wasn't like, oh, talk to the governor about it or something. It was like agreed upon by some people. And then other people found out about it and were like, no way, don't do that.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. And so it started to develop into this thing. And we went in, we loaded them up. So we shot the scene. We started to drive out, and we got outside of town, and we got stopped by people. And they were like, we have to go reshoot this. We got to go back in. And I've had the locals are like, don't you dare go back there. They're going to like lynch you, like all this stuff. And they at one point even held one of our, like there's the production show from like here. And then you've got production there that speaks the language and can like arrange things locally. And then one of those guys got held hostage for a while. And they didn't want to let him go until we brought the leaves back and gave them back. And so they're like, whatever you do, don't go back into that town. And we're like, oh. So they're like, producers are like, go back. And the locals are like, don't go back. And they're like holding hostage. And we're just like, got our guy out and left. And the show looks like we go in, load it up, and go leave and deliver them. And that's not what happened.
So I didn't show all that other drama and scariness.
Situation. Yeah, I'm like, that was epic.
What? So during filming of any of these shows, what was maybe the funniest moment?
Oh,
I mean, if you can just remember horse laughing, but you couldn't catch your breath because you just.
Oh my gosh! So I'm pretty sure it was the first time we shot, and it happened the next year too. And I think it was just my nerves. Like, there's a camera on you, and I'm on a show, and oh my gosh! And we were filming the safety meeting at Carlisle, the first season. We're all in this big room, the cameras are around, I'm mic'd up, we're sitting there listening, being serious. Oh yeah, safety's first. And somebody farted, and I don't know who farted. And whoever it was right there, and they were just passing it off like nothing happened. And I was like,
big deal.
It was like all the nerves and everything, and I just could not stop laughing. And I'm like interrupting the whole thing, and I finally had to go in the bathroom and excuse myself, and I just like laid out on the floor just laughing, and they all thought I was in there just bawling my eyeballs out, and I just could not get it back together after that.
I wish they wouldn't cut that part out. That'd be pretty hilarious.
I'm glad they did though, because I was just all nerves, and it was just I couldn't stop friggin' laughing. And then the next year something happened like that too. It wasn't the same thing, but I just remember just laughing uncontrollably. I'm like, okay, get a grip, woman.
That's classic, man. I love it. I love it. So what have you been doing since post Ice Road Truckers?
Couple cool stuff. I bought my own truck, so I'm an owner op now, where I've never been before, and I work out of Fairbanks, and I just exclusively drive the haul road back and forth. That's what I do, and we're heavy every single time. So I kind of know what I'm doing. I know what gear I'm climbing, what hill in. So it was really cool getting my own truck. And then I also decided I'm going to try breeding horses. So I breed gypsy banners. I'm trying it out. I don't know how well it's going to work. I got to actually sell a baby.
Well, I mean, if you keep getting kicked and breaking bones, we're going to put you in some bubble wrap up there. And
I blame it all on the one horse. It's all her fault.
Of course it was.
Yeah, but I got a stallion and 4 mares and a 3-month-old baby. And then I got one pregnant that's due in February, right in the middle of the winter. Shit, that was an accident. The stallion got loose.
Well, hey, sounds like it worked out.
At least the barn's heated, so it won't freeze to death.
Yes, ma'am. Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming on the show. It has been so much fun. I could ask 50 more questions, but we're out of time, and we had a bunch of other really good questions. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody's questions, but we appreciate everybody asking. Maybe you can jump on there and answer some of those on my Facebook if you have time or something. I don't know, but that would be they would think that was just cool as crap if you did.
Right on.
get a
Thanks
few of
for
those.
having
So
me. And
this has been fun.
it was actually kind of cool to tell some stories that like never made the show. That was cool.
Okay, real quick, one more question, and I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you're probably close to all your cast members. But who's your favorite cast member on the show?
I really like Todd Dewey because we're like actual friends, and he's just the nicest person you could ever meet. And I really like Carrie Hall.
Yeah,
And we're still friends, and he's still just one of the coolest people. And I still run into Jack Jesse. He's still
really.
Carlisle up there, and he's always, hi, Lisa. You know, it's like, oh, Jack.
We see Carrie quite a bit. Me and Misty do at the truck shows in Louisville and stuff like that. Great guy.
Carrie's
Just
awesome.
like you're surrounded by some great people there.
Yep.
Lisa, thank you. Hopefully, we can have you back on. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it is. I heard there might be a reason to have you back on. Maybe come and talk about some new news. So maybe we can do that in next year's series, and that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Until then,
Yep.
thank you. And
Hey, y'all, my good buddy, Brant Terry and his family at Terry Law Firm have been representing truckers involved in trucking collisions for years. As truck drivers, we need a knowledgeable lawyer on our side that understands truck cases. The Terry Law Firm knows the FMCSA regulations as well as today's modern video system telematics. I met Brant years ago when he took on a case for my mom, so I know they're going to treat you guys like family and leave no stone unturned in your case. To get a hold of them, simply call 1-800-51-TERRY. That's 1-800-51-TERRY. Or reach them online at www.terry-lawfirm.com. Tell them I sent you. Glad you did. Thanks for tuning in. If you like today's show, then do me a big favor. Mash the share button, be sure to subscribe, and leave us a review. Also, be sure to follow us on social media for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Until next time, God bless, and as always, speed safe.